Equestria Girls, Legend of the Ever. Wait a minute, I haven't reviewed the first 3 yet like I intended. Okay, let me fix that. Equestria Girls 1. Flawed movie, giant plot holes. Sunset sucks as a villain, yet entertaining. Equestria Girls 2. Rainbow Rocks. Brilliant movie, interesting villains, great songs. Sunset is an awesome protagonist, overall I love it. Equestria Girls 3. Friendship Games. Good movie. Sideway is a great character in her own right, Midnight Sparkle looks awesome, but friendship game rules don't make any sense. Cinch is a lame villain and just exists as a hate sink, while the other Shadow Balls are completely forgettable, with the exception of Lemon Zest. Someone draw me Shepard, I love her. That should cover it for the time being, and now let's talk about the new one. As you can see, I'm quite fond of the Equestria Girls movie series. I think no one expected them to actually produce 4 of these. And it's obvious it won't be the last one, and I can't wait for number 5. Anyway, after we covered the school dance, Battle of the Bands and school rivalry, the next logical step is the movie about summer camp. Maybe I should check on my hamster. That's right, we actually spent an entire movie outside that godforsaken school and instead visit the Equestria Girls counterpart of the Everfree forest. A welcome change in scenery. As Equestria Girls is all about high school, the setting always felt a bit limited. We hardly seen anything outside of that school, so an entire movie that takes place somewhere else just feels really refreshing. But of course a new setting alone doesn't make a good movie. Luckily this movie has more to offer. It does focus a lot on Sideway, bringing her character arc that started in Friendship Games to a close. This movie somewhat enforced that Cinch was only in the last one, so Twilight doesn't have to deal with the same problem as Sunset. But thanks to that, her character arc feels surprisingly fresh and actually comes with a rather unique twist. Midnight Sparkle is still part of her, and Twilight fears that Midnight might take over again. That is the first in this series. There's no indication that Luna could become Nightmare Moon again, and Sunset put a complete 180 after she was hit by that rainbow. A lingering dark side that could take over any time is something we haven't seen so far. While you can't really talk about her redemption arc in Twilight's case, as she never was really evil and she doesn't feel that guilty, the fear that it might happen again, and that this fear is seemingly justified, makes it all quite interesting. They also make it quite clear that Midnight Sparkle is not an outside force that corrupts Twilight, but a part of her she can't get rid of. Even though Twilight managed to overcome her fear and Midnight Sparkle at the end, the door's still open for Midnight's eventual return. Frankly, I do kinda doubt it, but I like that it is possible. She also gets a romantic subplot concerning newcomer Timber Spruce. I just call him Tim, okay? I liked him. He's a fun character. Well, and that puts him miles ahead of Flash Sentry in the first movie because, you know, he has a character. He's a bit dorky, yet quite sure of himself. He has a bit of an ego, and even though he likes to joke a lot, he is somewhat more of a realist, unlike his sister, who couldn't accept the loss of their camp. He also shows a great dynamic with his sister Gloriosa, but most importantly, he showed some actual chemistry with Twilight. Funnily enough, by talking about chemistry in gems. I feel like I should make a Steven Universe reference here. I can't think of a good one, but to be fair, Flash wasn't that bad in this movie. He got a small character arc getting over Twilight, as Sideway is obviously not interested in him, while his chance to actually date Pony Twilight is, well, rather slim. And I like that Sunset helps him to get over Twilight, and that Flash actually attempts to rekindle their former relationship. And guess what? I like that idea. I really hated that they added this random throwaway line that they used to date in the first movie because it amounted to nothing. They broke it up again in Rainbow Rocks, though it didn't really add anything either. Other than that, Sunset feels bad about using him. Though you could argue that the scene indicates that Sunset is not entirely over Flash and just doesn't want to admit it. She seemingly enjoys that he tried to flirt with her in Legend of the Everfree as well. This movie does show that they do care about each other and that they know each other rather well. It doesn't add too much to Flash's character, he just moves his affection from one girl to the other. But they could use it to explore both him and Sunset a bit more, especially since they already have a history together. So yeah, I'm cool with the idea of these two getting back together. Please don't hate me for that. Other than that, there's not much to say about Sunset this time around though. She's more or less the leader of the group and she does well doing so. Like always, a good performance, but this movie is a bit more about Twilight. Sunset's character arc came to a close in the third movie, but she still shines while she supports Twilight, as Sunset can understand her pain. Though I also liked how she desperately tried to use telekinesis. It was like she was trying to say, "God, I miss my horn." I still hope that they tackle this homesickness aspect of her character they cut from friendship games eventually. No, unlike the former movies, this one kinda lacks a proper villain. It is more about strange stuff happening around the campsite while the human 7 show magical superpowers out of nowhere. Overall, they just try to enjoy their stay. It is built up as a mystery and the audience doesn't really know what is going on. Tim does tell the story of Gaia Everfree, and it sounds like something we would expect in an Equestria Girls movie, but as it turns out, it was a red herring. While they don't outright state that he made the story up, he only told it to cover for his sister. And now we get to Gloriosa Daisy. I guess she is the antagonist of the movie, I don't deny that. But she doesn't really do anything. She only used her magic to make it the best camping week ever, and it backfired. She has no ill intentions, but the magic and the stress does drive her crazy in the end. While her transformation looks quite awesome, she is still a somewhat underwhelming villain. She is powerful, but only used her magic to imprison students so their camping trip never ends, and protects the camping ground against outsiders. She certainly went nuts, but if she went mad, why not all the way? She looks the part, so why not turn her into something like Poison Ivy, a character that wants nature to take back the planet? Nope, just protecting this one camping site. She would leave much more of an impression if she were to go out of her way and actually attack Filthy Rich. But then again, it was somewhat interesting to see that her original motivation wasn't even to use her powers to prevent Rich to claim the land. She only wanted everyone to enjoy their stay as much as possible. She's also a rather likable character. It is easy to notice that she forced her smile and is completely stressed out, but at heart she just seems like such a positive character that it's hard to dislike her. Of course, you could claim that Filthy Rich is the true villain of the story, but I don't really think so. You could consider him a minor antagonist that triggers the events, and while he is less sympathetic than his pony counterpart, and then again we never saw that one doing some actual business other than dealing with Granny Smith, the human version of Filthy Rich doesn't do anything amoral either. He barely appears and gives Gloriosa some extra time even though he already owns the place. And even his motives aren't that bad. Sure, he does it for its own gain, but he wants to build a spa resort where the camp is. It is not like he actually wants to cut down the entire forest, as characters like him usually do in stories like these. Sure, it is hard on Gloriosa, but Filthy doesn't fulfill the role of a hate sink like Cinch did in the last movie. You don't despise him, he is just around doing business. As the story is more about mystery and the students enjoying the camp, there's no direct conflict at first. As a result, it feels more laid back than prior movies. The main cast has some fun while they try to get used to their new powers, and the movie overall feels a bit funnier than prior entries in the franchise. The songs are quite good, and for once I actually enjoy the title song. But now I guess I have to talk about the elephant in the room. While the Equestria Girls movies, especially friendship games, always kinda reminded me of magical girl animes, this movie straight up becomes one at the end. They get character-specific superpowers, transformation trinkets, and magical girl outfits. Add Spike as a speaking cute animal mascot, and you have everything you need. Well, I do kinda like it, but I could imagine that this is a bit of a shark jumping moment for others. What really disappoints me about this is that they get these new forms after they defeated Gloriosa, as they only gain them by taking away her power. So we didn't even get a proper battle this time around, and this whole movie seems more like a ploy to give them their new powers for the next one, and introduce new costumes they can sell as toys. And by the way, why do their new forms have these weird spikes instead of proper wings? They look alright I guess, but I prefer Pegasus wings over weird spikes. And while we're at it, why does Sideway have wings? So she's an Alicorn but Sunset isn't? Come on! Sideway is a good character, but she didn't really do anything to deserve them yet. Well, but now I'm nitpicking. Regardless of that, let's talk about these crystals. I guess they are the elements of harmony of that word. After all, they find them in a cave in the Everfree forest, and they are linked to the human counterparts of the main six and Sunset. However, they do imply that they probably originated in Equestria, and they seemingly aren't as powerful as the original elements of harmony, which is something I actually quite like. Most of the time the show relied a bit too much on instant win buttons. May it be the elements of harmony, the power of love, the crystal heart, or the rainbow power. Luckily they stopped doing that in season 5, and in Rainbow Rocks and friendship games it didn't work like that either. These crystals continue this trend as they seemingly grant powers that are meant for actual combat instead of instant win rainbow beams. So it seems like the next movie might feature more action. I'm curious what the future has in store for our Hellbrings. At least the last scene indicates that things might slip through the portal any time. Anyway, let's wrap things up. I enjoyed this movie a lot. It was a lot of fun and the story works rather well, even though, or maybe because, it lacks a proper villain. Yet I think it is a bit underwhelming. Gloriosa was a powerful foe and looks awesome, so it does feel a bit wasted since it didn't do more with her. And unlike the last two movies, this one seems more like a setup for sequels, an integral that only exists to introduce the new gimmicks for the next movie, if you will. However, I like the comedy and the characters were portrayed quite well. It also hyped me for Equestria Girls 5. But what about you? Did you like this movie? What do you think about the whole magical girl stuffs? Are you okay with, I guess I call the ship Twimber? Let me know in the comments. I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes you can be